I never imagined that one day I would find myself questioning my own reality at work. But when people you trust begin rewriting the truth about you, the line between what happened and what they want you to believe becomes terrifyingly thin. My story didn't start with a big betrayal. It started with something small, subtle, almost invisible, but powerful enough to unravel everything I thought I knew about the people around me. It began on a Tuesday morning. The office was unusually quiet, the kind of quiet that feels heavy, like everyone is holding their breath. I walked to my desk, set my bag down, and opened my laptop like always. Nothing seemed wrong, not at first. Then my manager called my name from across the room. "Can I see you for a moment?" Her tone was flat, controlled, not angry, but not neutral either. That tone scared me more than yelling ever could. I followed her into a small conference room. The blinds were half closed, letting in strips of cold morning light that cut across the table. She sat, crossed her arms, and opened a printed email thread. "Can you explain this?" she asked. I leaned forward, heart pounding. The emails looked familiar. They had my signature, my writing style, even my formatting. But the content was completely wrong. They were curt, dismissive, and unprofessional. Messages accusing a coworker of ignoring deadlines, questioning a manager's authority, and even refusing to complete a task. "I didn't write these," I said immediately. My manager tilted her head. "They came from your account." "I know," I whispered, "but I didn't write them." She didn't argue. She didn't accuse me. She just stared, as if waiting for me to confess to something I hadn't done. After a long silence, she slid the papers toward me. "Figure out what's going on," she said, "because this could escalate." My chest tightened. My vision blurred. Escalate. That word echoed in my head long after I left the room. I returned to my desk and opened my sent folder. The emails weren't there. Not a single one. No drafts. No deleted items. Nothing. It was as if someone had inserted them into the thread from the outside. My stomach twisted. Someone was trying to set me up. The rest of the day passed in a haze of dread. Every time someone walked by, I felt their eyes linger. People whispered. I couldn't tell if they were talking about me, but my brain filled in the blanks anyway. By the time I got home, I felt like I was carrying a weight on my chest. I sat on my couch, opened my laptop, and stared at the email thread again. Something felt off, not just emotionally, but technically. The tone was close to mine, but too perfect. Too rehearsed, too replicated. I zoomed in on the signature block, and that's when I saw it. A tiny spacing error. One line had 2 spaces instead of 1, another had a missing period after my job title. Those mistakes might seem insignificant, but I'm meticulous. I never make those errors. Someone had copied my signature, and they hadn't done it well. My hands shook as I dug deeper. I downloaded the email file, opened the metadata, and froze. The timestamp didn't match the corporate server log. Someone had altered the email, edited it outside the system, reinserted it into the thread. But who had the access and the motive to do that? 2 names came to mind immediately. People I trusted. People who had access to shared folders and internal tools. People who had made passive-aggressive comments about my accuracy, my speed, my uptight personality. But suspicion wasn't enough. I needed proof. The next morning, I went in early. The office was empty except for the night guard, Miguel, and one IT analyst, Rosa, who often arrived before everyone else. I approached Rosa cautiously. "Can I ask you something?" I said, my voice barely above a whisper. She looked up from her monitor. "Sure, What's wrong? I hesitated. If I misjudged her, I could make things even worse. But something in her expression felt safe, genuine. I think someone altered emails from my account, I said. And I don't know how. Rosa blinked, surprised, but not dismissive. Show me. I handed her my laptop. She studied the thread carefully, then opened a system dashboard I didn't recognize. Rows of logs, device IDs, IP addresses, and access timestamps. She frowned. That's strange, she said. These emails weren't sent from your machine. My heart pounded. Then who sent them? Rosa clicked faster now, switching between logs. Your account was accessed remotely, she said. But not through the VPN and not through any company device assigned to you. I felt a cold shiver run through me. So someone logged in as me, I whispered. Rosa nodded slowly. Yes, but there's more. Whoever did this used an internal workstation on the 4th floor. The 4th floor? A restricted department. Only special project staff and certain managers had access to that area. Can you tell who it was? I asked. Rosa hesitated. I can't name people, but I can show access patterns. She printed a simplified version, just timestamps and generic workstation IDs. But I recognized one of the repeating patterns immediately. A coworker of mine, Megan. She had always been friendly, supportive. She brought me coffee sometimes, asked about my weekend, complimented my outfits. But she also had access to restricted areas because of a temporary assignment she once worked on. And she had recently been competing with me for a leadership project. My throat tightened. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to think she was capable of something so cruel. But the pattern was there. Impossible to deny. I thanked Rosa, took the printed logs, and walked out of the IT room feeling like my world had tilted. Over the next few hours, everything clicked into place. The strange comments, the sudden changes in tone from my manager, the missing emails, the errors in the forged messages. Megan wasn't trying to sabotage my performance. She was trying to replace me. That afternoon, HR called me into another meeting. Their expression was colder now, almost disappointed. We need to discuss the ongoing email concerns, one of them said. My pulse raced. My palms were sweating. But I opened my folder, took a breath, and placed the printed metadata and logs on the table. You need to see this, I said calmly. They read in silence. When they reached the access logs, their expressions changed instantly, from doubt to shock. One of them whispered, "This is serious." Another said, "We need to investigate immediately." They asked me to wait outside. I sat on a bench in the hallway, staring at my trembling hands. For the first time in days, I let myself breathe. 30 minutes later, they called me back. You did the right thing coming forward, one of them said. We're taking action. The next morning, Megan was escorted out of the building. No dramatic scene, no yelling, just a quiet exit, her badge deactivated, her desk cleared. HR met with me privately. They apologized. They said I was never at risk, not after the evidence surfaced. They restored my access, cleared my record, and thanked me for my professionalism. But the damage wasn't over. Walking through the office felt different. People who had doubted me were suddenly warm again. Coworkers who had whispered now avoided my eyes. And my manager, who had silently judged me, was overly accommodating, almost guilty. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt exhausted, because the hardest part wasn't the sabotage itself. It was the realization that someone so close to me had looked me in the eyes, smiled, and lied. Betrayal doesn't always come with warning signs. Sometimes it comes disguised as kindness, as friendship, as trust you didn't know you were giving away. But the truth surfaced anyway. Because evidence doesn't lie, metadata doesn't lie, access logs don't lie. And people who try to rewrite your story always forget something. The truth has a way of slipping through the cracks. Now, I document everything. I trust slowly. I watch for details. Not because I'm paranoid, but because I've learned that the smallest discrepancy, a missing period, an extra space, can be the thread that unravels an entire lie. And I'll never ignore those threads again.